By the way, you know they're having a celebration of them on September the 5th. Trump celebrating the J6 I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point of Democratic policy. Since the start, end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
We're trying to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims like that.
First of all, I love you. I love Clinton. It's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, well, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
It's just a bullshit thing.
Bill Maher just obliterated another woke guest, and it was pure fireworks. The guest walked in thinking he and Maher were fighting for the same cause, but that illusion didn't last long. Maher came fully loaded, and what followed was a masterclass in brutal honesty and sharp wit. By the end, the so-called woke wisdom was nothing but smoldering ashes. Buckle up, this one's about to get spicy.
The thing I think we've been pretty aligned on is that the Democrats do better when they're center-left and not far-left.
Certainly.
It's better policy and it wins elections.
Right.
How do you think they did their convention with convincing the country that they are now back to the center left as opposed to the far left?
Well, first of all, you and I agreed, but that was one tough extraction, getting Biden out of the race.
Yes, it was.
Anyway, we brought in the head of oral surgery at UCLA, Nancy Pelosi. And you and I were like a couple of hygienists, like hacking away at it. But Dr. Nancy came in and did it.
Starts by making a point even many conservatives can agree with: the left is strongest when it stays center-left, not when it dives headfirst into the ideological abyss of the far left. And honestly, he's right. There's room for reasonable debate on issues like abortion rights, LGBTQ equality, and evolving gender roles. Those are important discussions, but when the conversation shifts to extreme territory, pronoun policing, biological males in women's sports, or children undergoing gender transitions, it stops looking like progress and starts feeling like chaos. That's the moment where the far left loses touch with reality. And Maher, to his credit, isn't afraid to call it out.
She wanted something different. And the Democrats, they weren't looking for ethnic cleansing. They weren't looking for a war. They weren't looking for a new entitlement. The country wanted something different than Trump and Biden, and we gave it to them. And I'm not surprised the country's responding favorably. I really not.
Yeah, I thought that, for one thing, they sounded like America, which, has been a problem with the left in recent years. They didn't sound like they liked America too much. And this convention, I heard a lot of it. You're lucky to be an American. You're privileged. It's the greatest country in the world. Like, thank you. Did you hear that, Congressman? Did you feel like that was sincere?
Let's be real. Nobody was truly fired up about Kamala Harris in the last election. Despite having the full weight of the establishment behind her, from Hollywood cheerleaders to massive campaign funding, she didn't just lose, she crashed and burned. Yet the left keeps spinning this strange narrative that her race was somehow historic or razor close. It wasn't. Shilosky swing states couldn't win the popular vote and got crushed in the Electoral College. There was no momentum, no miracle run, just wishful thinking, wrapped in denial. The numbers told the story clearly, even if her supporters refused to read them.
I never criticize Democrats for putting on a good show. I will never criticize Democrats for being good at politics. What I criticize Democrats for is being bad at policy and governing. They put on a great show. They got those celebrities in there. They dusted off those American flags that they had previously held in the attic or burned occasionally. And then they brought them out for that freedom wave.
Very few Democrats burned
the Democrat activists burned down cities. We, as members of Congress, just a few weeks ago, we had to go put American flags back up over Union Station, Washington, D.C.
Hits the nail on the head. We've all seen it. Those moments during Pride Month when the White House replaces the American flag with the Pride flag. As if patriotism can be switched on and off like a seasonal trend. It's a perfect snapshot of a much bigger issue. Selective love for America. Politicians and activists drape themselves in the stars and stripes when it's time to score points or preach unity. But the moment it's trendy to rebel, that same flag becomes the enemy. Burned, mocked, or dismissed by the very people who claim to champion freedom. Crenshaw's message lands because it exposes that hypocrisy. True patriotism isn't about convenience. It's about consistency.
Show. They're full of hope and joy, and I get it. Like, that's great. starry-eyed views of optimism of the future. But on policy, not so great. And in the end, this is going to be about policy. They were very light on that. Why? Because they don't want to contend with the fact that they own the last 4 years of policy. We do have a very unique opportunity here where we have two candidates where you can look at 4 years and 4 years. You know exactly what they're going to do and you know exactly what the outcomes are. And on every metric, Donald Trump wins on this. And so that's what we're going to keep pushing this election toward is what are the metrics that will actually make your life better? Donald Trump wins on this, on the policy and the outcomes associated with it.
Crenshaw nailed it perfectly. The Democrats are still coasting on catchy slogans and feel-good rhetoric instead of real substance, and that's exactly why they're struggling. Even a year after their election loss, they still can't define a unified vision for the future. Ask 10 Democrats about their priorities, and you'll get 10 conflicting answers. There's no solid economic blueprint, no clear stance on border security, and no meaningful outreach to the working-class Americans who feel left behind. Kamala Harris had all the media hype, Hollywood backing, and donor money, but none of that could fill the void where a genuine message should have been. When the noise faded, voters saw the truth. It wasn't bad luck that sunk them. It was the absence of anything real to believe in.
You know, they have a celebration of them on September the 5th. Trump celebrating the J6. I thought my boss, President Clinton, made an undeniable point. The Democratic policy since the end of the Cold War, there have been 51 million jobs created in the United States. 50 million were created under Democratic presidents and 1 million under Republican presidents.
You know, that's
50 to 1.
You're going to be able to tie. If you're going to make claims like that.
First of all, I love you. I love Clinton. It's a thing to say.
Okay.
Because as we both know, well, am I right?
Yeah.
As we both know, jobs created, it has a lot to do with what the last guy did. Clinton got rid of Glass-Steagall. Did that have anything to do with the collapse in 2008 of the economy? I think it did. So maybe some of the jobs that were lost.
I'm sorry.
It's just a bullshit thing to say.
Maher is absolutely right. It's never just about how many jobs exist, but what kind of jobs they actually are. Politicians love to brag about creating millions of new positions, but if those jobs are low-paying, part-time, or unstable, that's not real progress. It's an illusion. What often gets overlooked is how many solid jobs vanished during that same period, erasing much of the so-called growth back in 2008. Under Clinton's economic direction, the numbers may have looked good on paper, but the reality told a different story. Most of those jobs lacked stability, benefits, or upward mobility. Meanwhile, costs were climbing, wages were stagnating, and the housing market was quietly collapsing. The headlines painted success, but working Americans felt the cracks underneath. Maher's point slices through the political spin. Job numbers mean nothing if the paychecks can't build a stable life.
A policy to an outcome. I can tie policies from Donald Trump to outcomes. So you cut taxes, you cut regulations. What does that do? It makes it easier to do business and hire people. So you're going to have job growth. You had 8% wage increase after inflation under Donald Trump before the pandemic. Actually, 16% if you're talking about the lowest quintile of earners. Under Biden, it's been 0. So on every metric, he wins, and I can go down the list.
I guess that crime is down 30%. The stock market is up. The metrics that y'all choose are just BS metrics.
No,
It's not a meaningless metric, it's the one that actually counts. When we talk about the economy, we're talking about real measurable factors: low inflation, practical tax relief, fewer regulations, and policies that help businesses grow. Those are the pillars that create jobs, lift wages, and strengthen the middle class. That's exactly why Trump's message resonated with so many Americans. He zeroed in on what working families truly care about: the cost of living, take-home pay, and cutting government red tape that strangles small businesses. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris and the Democrats were too busy catering to the far-left fringe, obsessing over culture wars instead of addressing real economic pain. In the end, voters don't choose based on hashtags or virtue signals. They vote based on what's in their wallets. And that's the lesson the left still hasn't learned.
Democrats have done a better job creation, but it's not 50 to 1. So don't lie to me. You know what? I'm an outlier till you lie.
Please fact check. Either Bill's right or I'm right.
Well,
fact check.
but the numbers don't necessarily mean.
Okay. But it's 50 to 1.
You understand what
We had the lowest unemployment in 50 years under Trump. And again, you have to associate an outcome with policies. And you can't tell me what Biden policy resulted in better jobs. If we're increasing our jobs.
Also, there was a pandemic that had a lot to do with it.
There's a massive.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. It's again, let's move on.
James Carville probably thought Bill Maher would have his back when he proudly boasted that Democrats created 50 million jobs compared to Trump's 1 million. It sounded like the perfect political mic drop, but Maher wasn't buying it. Instead of nodding along, he pushed back. pointing out that those flashy numbers don't tell the whole story. Job creation isn't a scoreboard. Maher explained, it's about context, economic cycles, global crises, and the post-pandemic rebound all inflated those stats. In short, correlation doesn't equal causation. Carville tried to spin it as proof of democratic success, but Maher cut through the spin, reminding everyone that leadership isn't about bragging rights, it's about building real, lasting economic strength, not just chasing headline numbers.
Country simply has no education standards anymore. They will let you out of a public high school and give you a diploma, and you don't have to actually know anything, which used to be the mission of schools, knowing things. I know it's super important to stop the grooming of our kids, or I don't know, to start it. And certainly critical race theory must be stricken from the curriculum, or who knows, maybe included in all of it. But, you know, while we're having those fights, could someone please notice that the kids don't actually know anything?
While everyone argues over the economy, the real crisis is unfolding inside America's classrooms. The education system is in shambles, and that's putting it mildly. Students are graduating without mastering basic reading, writing, or math because ideology has replaced merit. Programs like DAY and critical race theory have turned schools into social experiments where attendance matters more than achievement. Diplomas are now participation trophies, and excellence has been sacrificed in the name of equity. The meritocracy that once made American education the envy of the world has been abandoned, and we're paying the price. An entire generation is emerging unprepared for real-world challenges, unable to compete globally, and conditioned to think that effort doesn't matter. This isn't just bad policy. It's a moral collapse that's eating away at the very foundation of America's intellect and ambition.
I travel this country on weekends doing stand-up now. I see the political ads that are running on the local TV markets, and I think, how can this possibly work on people? And then I remember, oh yes, they think Queen Elizabeth is from Egypt. When again, plainly, it's Brazil.
The damage done to America's education system under years of Democrat leadership. By prioritizing politics over performance, they've weakened our schools, demoralized teachers, and left students dangerously unprepared for the real world. But thankfully, that's starting to change. Our president is finally taking a stand, pushing back against institutions that replace education with ideology. His message is clear. Classrooms are for learning, not indoctrination. It's about restoring merit, discipline, and common sense, the same values that once made America's schools the best in the world. And that's exactly what Bill Maher's conversation exposed. How far the left has drifted from reality. Even lifelong liberals like Maher can see that today's far-left obsession with identity, politics, and performative wokeness has failed. While they focus on pronouns, protests, and virtue signaling, everyday Americans are struggling with inflation, job insecurity, and failing schools. Leaders like Trump and Crenshaw understand that real strength comes from substance, not slogans. The country doesn't need more political theater, it needs results. It's time to bring back common sense, accountability, and pride in hard work, the core values that built this nation. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Straight Talk commentary. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.